Don't panic guys, Africa has not frozen over, but the UK has. I'm actually at my local zoo basically for shooting this video, but it's really cold outside and it's also lunchtime. So I'm gonna go somewhere warmer where I can talk to you quietly. See you in a sec. Okay, so slight change of plan. The intention was to find a quiet spot in one of the coffee shops in the zoo where I could talk to you properly. Except right after I finished filming that, the snow came down like a blizzard and everybody ran into the coffee shops. So in the end, I decided to just cut it all short, head back home, and here we are. So what was I doing at the zoo? Well, to be honest, I go to the zoo quite a lot. In fact, it was one of the very first places that I went to when I first got a DSLR. And I found it was such a great place to go to practice photographing that I ended up getting membership so I could just go whenever I want. I don't get to go quite as much these days because, one, I don't have as much free time on my hands, and also I am slightly haunted by the fact that one of the last times that I went with this setup and I wound up dropping the damn thing. Face first onto concrete. Thankfully the lens hood's metal, so took most of the impact. You can actually see it's dented somewhere along the top here. However, the thing fell onto the top of the camera, broke all the viewfinder, and I wound up having to spend about 500 quid fixing the damn thing. But horror stories aside, the reason I'm telling you all this is because if you are somebody who likes photographing animals or you want to practice photographing animals, the zoo is a fantastic place to go and do that. The reason is because, you know, somebody like me living in the UK, we don't exactly have much in the way of exotic wildlife. You know, we've got birds and we've got squirrels and the likes, but we've not got any lions or tigers or anything. For me to go and see those animals in the wild would need to be on a safari. And don't get me wrong, I would love to go on a safari, but it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time. And then also there's always the possibility that you go on a safari and you see nothing. But that's just a risk that you take. But going to the zoo is a great way for you to go out and practice photographing animals. It creates a challenge because you have no control over them. You can't say to them, oh, can you just turn this way? Can you just stand over there for me? Could you just lift your chin up? You are at the mercy of whatever the animal wants to do. And that makes you kind of think about what you're doing that little bit more. The other reason for this video is a piece of life advice. It's something that I've learned, it's something that all photographers go through. And if you're just starting out in photography, at some point you're going to realize this as well. Now, don't take this as an offense or an attack on you, because it's really not. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's supposed to be more of an incentive. Right now, if you are just starting out in photography, you're a bad photographer. And again, that is not to say you're a bad photographer because you're a bad photographer and you just shouldn't bother with it. It's to say that you're not a great photographer because you've not got the experience, you've not got the practice. Any art form, any crafts, anything like that, all comes with experience. You know, nobody picks up a guitar for the first time and starts banging out Eddie Van Halen. Nobody picks up paints for the first time and can paint the Mona Lisa. Nobody just gets in a car for the first time and then starts competing in F1. It really doesn't work like that, and photography is exactly the same. When you first get a camera, you'll probably think the photos you are taking are really great. But realistically, they're probably not, because you've just not got the experience, the technical knowledge, the kind of know-how in how to create those good photos. Every photographer has had to learn that at some point, and that was kind of why I wanted to do that video at the zoo today. Because the zoo was the very first place that I went to really test out my DSLR. It was the first place that I really went to take pictures. And I've been going regularly for years, ever since that day. So I can see from my pictures year on year how my style's changed, how my abilities have changed, and how my photos are getting better and better and better. But I also know I'm not the best photographer in the world, far from it. So I know in 5 years' time, if I'm still going to the zoo regularly, I can look back on the photos that I'm taking then to the photos that I'm taking now and see that I am still getting better and better and better. Because I know I'm a better photographer than I was a year ago. But I also know I'm going to be a better photographer in a year's time, because I will have another year's experience and I will have another year of learning new techniques and trying different things out and coming up with new ways of doing things. So every photographer, you included, right now you are the best photographer that you have ever been. But you are only going to get better and better as time goes on. So while I say just because you've got a camera doesn't mean you're automatically a great photographer, it's also to say don't start getting downhearted because you can't produce the photos that you're maybe wanting to produce. You know, if you're looking at your photos and comparing them to professional photos in a magazine or whatever, your photos probably aren't going to stack up anywhere close to those professionals. But odds are they've been taken by a photographer who's got 10 or 20 years experience. So don't start thinking, oh, this is pointless. I want to be able to make photos like that and I just can't, so why bother? Make sure you're always thinking, I want to be able to take photos like that, but I can't. What do they know that I don't? And that's basically how I learn. I've seen photos that other people take or techniques that other people have clearly used and think, ah, what's that? How did they do it? Get online, start asking questions, let's see. Because odds are somebody else has come through the same thing as well. And that's just how you learn. So that's it for another video, guys. I hope none of you are offended or anything like that by what I've just said. It's not a criticism or anything to say that you're a bad photographer. So make sure you keep a realistic head as to where you are in terms of your skill set, but also remember that you're always going to learn new things. And as you spend more time with your camera, you get out more and you take more photographs, you're going to learn more and more, and your photos are just going to get better and better and better. And if you want a convenient way to practice photographing animals, get down to your local zoo. See you in the next video, guys.